OK, great news, of course, that EasyJet are putting on flights to bring people back from locations such as Tunisia and the Greek island of Rhodes. Many people stranded there. EasyJet also putting on bigger planes to some destinations in order to bring back more people earlier. But crucially, there's a lot of misunderstanding and misinformation around this morning, Eamon, on the subject of compensation and getting your money back. Those are two different things. So I need to be absolutely clear that if your flight is cancelled, the airline has a strict obligation to deliver to you a duty of care, getting you back as soon as possible, getting you a hotel room, paying for your meals, all of that the airline has to do. And if they're not booking a hotel for you, then you keep the receipts and you claim it back. But nobody is going to get cash compensation because it's clearly not the airline's fault. So there's some reports saying that people are incurring hotel bills going into thousands of pounds. Well, yes, they are, and it's awful, and particularly if your credit card isn't very robust. But having said that, people will get that money back.
Eventually, obviously with that, because the obligation does fall upon the airlines, as you say.
Yes, it's slightly misleading then, because I'm just trying to piece together exactly what you've said, and all the front pages this morning. Flights hell, families thousands of pounds out of pocket, no compo for stranded passengers, and this one, not a penny to compensate air chaos victims. But you're saying they won't get a just big payout, but they will get refunds of airline tickets, overnight stays and food.
Exactly right, Isabel. Yeah, it's one of these things where if the airline cancels and it's their fault, you are automatically in line for a payment between £220 and £520. Clearly isn't their fault. Therefore, they are still obliged to give you the money back that you are spending in order to stay there because your flight isn't going, but you're not going to get compensation on top. Recompense, getting your money back, and compensation are two completely separate things.
Simon, we can all envisage what people are going through at the moment. Are you saying calm down, because there's no point trying to phone an airline, no one's going to answer the phones, they're not going to have them manned properly, there's no point sending an email because there's not going to be enough staff to answer them. The money will come your way eventually. You're going to have to take a hit on this, and then when you get home, try and sort it out after that.
Effectively, that is the score, yes. I mean, the big airlines have online systems, and you can, if you can work through the system, you get to the point where it says, right, are you trying to claim back expenses? Then you upload all your receipts. And by the way, don't just keep the receipts, make sure the receipts are itemised. If you've got a sum of €50 from a lovely Greek taverna, the airline will say, well, how come we don't know that you didn't have a beer or a bottle of lovely Retsina while you were there? We're not paying that. So you've got to have itemised receipts. Of course, keep all the hotel receipts. If you are buying a new flight because your airline can't get you home for a week, then you're going to need to include that. But the airlines, as long as you're reasonable, will not be able to defend these costs. And of course, if you happen to land in Gatwick on one of these rescue flights and you're trying to get to Edinburgh, the airline is going to have to pay for that. Although some of the train companies are coming in and saying, if you're in that position, we'll give you a free ride.
Very good of them. You said a moment ago between 220, was it, and 550 in compensation. Is that per night? I mean, that 550 doesn't sound an awful lot if your flight is delayed for a week.
Sorry, I was just, forgive me, I hope I haven't confused things still further. Those are the cash compensation amounts you get if the airline is responsible. Some airlines are trying to say, oh, you don't spend too much, we're not going to pay you more than £150 for a hotel. They cannot do that. They can't limit it. If the only hotel in town is £300 and you've got to stay there, then you send them the bill, and they can't say, "Oh, that's too much. You should have got something cheaper." You have to be reasonable and go for the a decent budget hotel. But if there's none available, then you're just going to have to pay what it takes. And they ultimately, anyway, are supposed to be finding hotels for people. And the fact that they're not doing that makes it very difficult for them to say, "Oh no, we're not paying that out." So just go for that, and there will be, I think, a lot of support from the Civil Aviation Authority, government ministers, to persuade the airlines to do this. Of course, the airlines are furious. This meltdown, I calculate so far, costing them £80 million. And that's a loss for them, not for everybody else.
Simon, I'm not trying to oversimplify this, and I'm not trying to put pressure on travel agents or beatify them in any way, but would you be in a more reassured position, a more comfortable position, if you have a travel agent on your side doing a lot of the spade work on this?
Oh, sure, yeah. I mean, if you've got a good human travel agent, he or she will help you through the process, and obviously will work with you to try to get what you're due. And people who are on a proper package holiday run by a company such as TUI or Jet2 are going to find that they're in a pretty strong position as well. And they are probably the people who are being looked after properly while they're waiting to come back. So they hopefully won't even have to spend out any money at all.